Dear students, the topic for today's class is propagation of fruits and ornamental plants. Introduction. Plant propagation means multiplication of plants with the aim to achieve increase in number and preserve the essential characteristics of the mother plant. It is essentially of two types: A. Sexual propagation, B. Asexual propagation, or otherwise known as vegetative propagation. Sexual propagation. Sexual reproduction refers to multiplication of plants by seeds. Seeds are formed after successful pollination and fertilization by the union of male and female gametes. Here, meiosis division takes place in the course of fusion and the chromosome numbers are reduced to half, which after fertilization becomes normal. Sexual propagation involves careful management of germination conditions and facilities and knowledge of the requirement of individual kinds of seeds. Vegetative propagation. The propagation of plants from vegetative plant parts such as buds, cuttings, roots, etc. is known as vegetative propagation. There are different methods of vegetative or asexual propagation such as cuttings, layerings, divisions, separation, budding, grafting, etc., excluding tissue culture. Cutting. This may be defined as a process by which a plant is produced by severing a vegetative portion from the plant and rooting it in a favorable medium under optimum conditions. The plant parts that are used for this purpose are stem, leaves, and modified stems such as tubers, corms, rhizomes, runners, and bulbs. In general, propagation by cutting is the cheapest and the most convenient method, and hence this is used more popularly to raise new plants. There are different types of cuttings. 1. Stem cuttings. Stem cuttings are of three types: A. Softwood or herbaceous, B. Semi-hardwood, and C. Hardwood. A. Softwood cuttings. Cuttings prepared from the soft, succulent, and non-lignified shoots, which are not hard or woody, are called as softwood cuttings. Example: dahlia, chrysanthemum. Semi-hardwood cuttings. The portion of the stems which have passed the softwood stage but are not yet mature are preferred to as semi-hardwood cuttings. Example: rose, mandibella, geranium. C. Hardwood cuttings. Cuttings from mature and lignified stems of shrubs and trees are called hardwood cuttings. Example: kiwi fruit, grapes, bougainvillea. Layering. Layering is a method by which adventitious roots are caused to form on a stem while it is still attached to the parent plant. Different types of layering are as follows. Number 1. Simple layering. Simple layer consists of bending an intake shoot to the ground to cause adventitious roots to form. This method can be used to propagate a wide range of plants, indoor or outdoor, on woody shrubs that produce numerous suckers. Example: rose, jasmine. Number 2. Compound or serpentine layering. This is similar to simple layering except that the flexible branches are covered with soil in several places. The shoots are alternately covered and exposed over the entire length. Example: clematis, peperomia. 3. Trench layering or etiolation method. Etiolation refers to growing in darkness, and in this method, a branch is covered over its entire length to produce from all nodes of buds, wherein roots are formed. Example: passion fruit, barbadine, or grenadilla, jasmine. Number 4. Mound layering or stooling. It is a method of propagation in which the shoots of plants are cut back to the ground and soil or rooting medium is mounded around new shoots or sprout to stimulate root to develop at their bases. Example: arabia, croton, apple, pear. Number 5. Tip layering. It is the simplest form of layering which often occurs naturally. The tips of shoots are buried 5 to 10 cm deep in the soil. Rooting is in buried soil. Shoots takes place within a month. Example: climbing roses, jasmine, oleander, bougainvillea, raspberries, blackberries. Number 6. Air layering. In this method, the roots are induced to form on the aerial part of the plant where the stem is girdled or slit at an upward angle. The injured portion is enclosed with rooting medium like sphagnum moss or vermiculite and maintained continuously moist by wrapping with polyethylene sheets. The polyethylene sheets permits gaseous exchange but are impervious to water. The roots are formed on the upper portion of the cut end of the ring. Example, Magnolia grandis, Oleander, Camellia, Guava, Lychee. Budding. It is an art of inserting a bud on the rootstock in such a way that both will unite and continue to grow as a single individual plant. Types of budding. Number 1, shield or T budding or inverted T budding. In this method, two flaps of the bark of the rootstock is opened with knife and then the bud is inserted by pushing it downward under the two flaps of the bark. Then, budded portion is covered with plastic tape or adhesive tape. Example, rose, hibiscus, lilac. Number 2, patch budding. In case of patch budding, a rectangular patch of bark is removed completely from the rootstock and replaced with a patch of bark of the same size containing a bud of the cultivar to be propagated. It is widely used in thick bark species, example pecans, walnut. Number 3, chip budding. In chip budding, a chip of bark and wood is removed from the smooth surface between the nodes of the stalk. A chip of similar size and shape is also removed from the budwood of the desired cultivar. Example, apple, cherries, plum. Grafting. It is an art of inserting a part of one plant into another plant by exposing the actively growing tissue so that they will unite and continue the growth as one plant. Types of grafting. Number 1, inarching or approach grafting. In this method, the rootstocks are raised in pots while the sign remains in mother plant itself. Here, 1-year-old seedling of pencil thickness are selected. In the rootstock, a smooth cut should be given which tapers gently towards the tip and bottom. Same size of cut is made on sign and the two cuts are placed face to face. Both the cut ends should be tied firmly with banana fiber and then twine over it. After that, union is covered with a mixture of cow dung and mud in equal parts. Example, mango, magnolia. Number 2, epicotile or stone grafting. Here, seeds are raised in bed and the germinated seedlings of 8 to 15 days old are taken out of the grafting. The seedlings are beheading at about 5 cm above the seeds and then inserting the wedge-shaped sign in the vertical split at the beheaded stalk. Polythene tapes at 200 gauge thickness are utilized for tying the graft. The grafts are then planted in polybags. Example, mango, walnut. Number 3, cleft grafting. This is a common method followed in top working of trees. Here, the base of the sign is prepared in the form of a wedge and this rootstock is split in which the sign is inserted. This method is usually done on thick stalks of 2 to 8 cm in diameter. The stalk is given a smooth cut and then it is split at the center of the signs are inserted at the ends in such a way that the cambial layers of stalk and sign are in contact. After the successful graft union, one of the signs, which is well developed, is allowed to grow. Example, apples, cherries, pears, peaches. Number 4, Vernier grafting. This is a modification of side grafting. In this method, a shallow downward and inward cut of 2.5 to 4 cm long is made in a smooth area just above the crown of the stalk plant. At the base of this cut, a second short inward and downward cut is made intersecting the first cut so as to remove a piece of wood and bark. The sign is prepared with a long cut along one side and a very short one at the base of the sign on the opposite side. The sign cut should be the same length and width as those made in the stalk so that the cambium layers can be matched as closely as possible. Example, junipers, pines, citrus, locust. Conclusion. Plants have the natural mechanism to multiply themselves by seeds and vegetative parts. The gardener should learn the different methods of propagation to replace the old or the diseased stocks and to meet the increasing demand of a growing garden. Thank you.